Hi, Dr. Reagan Robertson, CCO of Productive Dentist Academy here, and I have a question for you. Are you finding it hard to get your team aligned to your vision, but you know you deserve growth just like everybody else? That's why we've created the PDA Productivity Workshop. For nearly 20 years, PDA workshops have helped dentists just like you align their teams, get control of scheduling, and create productive practices that they love walking into every day. Just imagine how you will feel when you know your schedule is productive, your systems are humming, and your team is aligned to your vision. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. We can help. Visit productivedentist.com/workshop. That's productivedentist.com/workshop to secure your seats now.
If you're just now getting out of dental school, you're just now starting to think about what do you want to do. Let me tell you, you're in a phenomenal profession. There are lots of dentists out there that would love to be mentors to you. Find someone who is doing things the way you want to do it.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Bruce B. Baird, and you're listening to the Productive Dentist Podcast. In this podcast, I will give you everything that I've learned over the last 40 years in dentistry, working with thousands of dentists. I'll tell you, it's not that my way is the only way. It's just one that has worked extremely well for me, and I'd love to share that with you so you too can enjoy the choices and lifestyle that productivity allows. More time for things you love, increased pay, better team relationships, and lowered stress. Let's get into it with this week's episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.
Hi, this is Dr. Bruce Baird with the Productive Dentist Podcast. First off, I'd like to say thank you to all of you around the world that voted the Productive Dentist Podcast as the number one dental podcast in all of dentistry. That just came out from Dental Woo this last week. And so I just wanted to say thank you. My podcasts are a little different. Most of it's just me talking. So it's I just want to give you my ideas and my thoughts over 44 years in dentistry, and the trials and tribulations that I've been through, and the school of hard knocks, and the things that have been very successful. And obviously it's resonating with my listeners. So I'm so thankful for you guys. And please tell your friends about us. And I would love to help them get to where they wanted to go. So I wanted to say something else. I did a podcast a while back called Don't Let the Old Man In. And it's kind of appropriate now that Toby Keith recently passed away. I got a multitude of text messages and emails from the listeners of Productive Dentist Podcast saying, it's a tough time right now. And, Toby Keith wrote that song to Clint Eastwood when they were playing golf at Tehama out in Carmel. And he was asking Clint, how do you do it? How you're 92 or 91 years old and you're still doing movies and producing and directing and everything else. And Clint said, I just don't let the old man in. And Toby went home and wrote that song and came back, and it ended up being in the movie, The Mule with Clint Eastwood. And that was the final song. And, toast each sundown, and take good care of your friends and your wife. And it's just, I don't know, it's just, it was such a great song, and Toby's going to be missed dearly. He was always coming up with great tunes, and it was usually just based on experience. It's the one song, you should have been a cowboy. Apparently he was with a bunch of his buddies, and they were pheasant hunting up in, I think, Kansas. And they went out to some bar and they were all drinking. And one of the guys said, I'm going to go ask this girl to dance. And he walked across and she turned him down. And when he was walking back, one of the other guys says, well, hey man, you should have been a cowboy. In other words, she probably would have danced with you. And Toby went out on the patio that night where they were staying and wrote the entire song. It should have been a cowboy. So I think we should be writing songs about should have been a dentist, because I do believe that dentistry is still an amazing occupation. I have absolutely loved it for the 44 years I've been out of dental school. Some have been in retirement, or I would call that putting the handpiece down. I'm not retired because I still have many projects going on in the financial arena and in dentistry with the Lampa Dental Group and with other things, and also 4 years in the military. So I've kind of got that broad spectrum thought process, across all that. So I really, wanted to talk today about, kind of the future of dentistry and where I see us heading. It's an exciting time to be a dentist. There's no question. Printing technology is coming to the forefront now. Milling technology has been around now for 30 years, 25. And so we've been milling crowns, and now they're starting to say, well, let's start printing. Let's start doing those types of things. And our PPO is going to continue to grow. I mean, there are many patients, think that their PPO is just like their medical insurance. So what does the future look like? And what I see is obviously there's going to be the consolidation of dentistry. Probably 70% of dental practices will be owned by either partially owned or fully owned by a third party entity, potentially a private equity group or a dental service organization out there. So, and we see that, and that's going to happen. It's happening in all the other dermatology, medicine, ophthalmology, you go down the list, and we're not immune to that. Is it good? Is it bad? It's neither good nor bad. It gives you opportunities to maybe take some money off the table, take some chips off the table. Maybe it gives you some opportunity to take a little bit of the administrative headaches away. But it's not going to change you being a leader in your practice. It's not going to change you doing what's right in your practice and taking great care of patients. That's not going to change. And first of all, corporate America and corporate dentistry and private equity, they don't want that to change. They want to buy you because you've been successful, and any successful industry goes through consolidation. But what if you don't want to have anything to do with that? Well, that's fine. You can very easily decide, I want to be a solo practitioner. I want to have a group practice. I want to have a high value fee for service practice. And I think the high value fee for service practice, if I was getting out of dental school right now, that's one of the things that I'd be looking at. I'd want to establish and grow a high value fee for service practice, one where patients come first. You use great marketing. You look forward to seeing your patients every day. You don't have to see 5 jillion patients every day to make a living, but you can actually have time to take care of people. And I do think that that's going to be a blossoming part of what we see through consolidation. How do you compete against the consolidation of dentistry? You just take great care of your patients. Years ago, I had a dentist who was a friend of mine left the practice. And I was shocked, especially since they were running off charts. And some of you have heard this story before, and he was moving down the street. And we had been buddies for, 10, 12 years. And he took 8 employees with him. And, one of my mentors back then, a guy named Travis Lanham. Travis was, at the time, in his late 70s. And I told him, I said, man, what should I do? Should I go sue him or do this, do that? And he said, just continue to take great care of your patients. And I took that to heart, and I just took great care of my patients. And within 6 months, not only were we producing more than we were when he was there, and he was a good producer, but we also had 8 less employees, and we were still producing more. That's what happens when you have a team that is totally dedicated to taking great care of people. So that's going to continue to grow in dentistry. The printing technology is going to continue to grow in dentistry. would I print a crown now? I read them in the journals every day. Oh yeah, use this crown. You can print them. They can be permanent because they have some ceramic in the resin. And so you can call it a ceramic crown. I might take a little time. I've gotten hosed before over the years with certain types of crowns that I was told that, oh, these are going to be the best thing since sliced bread. And they started debonding and falling apart in a short period of time. And the research wasn't behind it. So as printing technology continues, and they're printing everything now, but it's the materials that are going to make the difference. It's not the printers. The printers, they're going to get better. They're going to get easier to use. And AI is going to take over in a lot of that. They'll be designed by artificial intelligence. You push a button, it'll print. And at some point in time, I believe those crowns are going to be fantastic. They're going to fit. They're going to look great. And what's it going to do? It's going to reduce costs. It's going to increase profitability in your office and your practice. And those are the things that you can look forward to in dentistry. And we're just now starting to talk about artificial intelligence, but with AI now detecting decay and detecting perio and really enhancing statistics and data that you get through your business, these are all things that I think coaching is going to become more and more automated based on data. And I've always thought that. And even in the early days, in the mid 80s, to me, I kept spreadsheets on everything. I kept data. Why? Because metrics is king. I wanted to know what my associate produced per hour. I wanted to know, per chair, what was I producing? I wanted to know all those things. Why? So I could make the proper decisions. Well, you may not have to do so much of that in the future. With companies like Dental Intelligence, they're using, they've got tons of data. Glidewell Labs has millions and millions of scanned teeth and designs. And now you're going to have artificial intelligence going through all of that and just taking the best of the best based on previous history. So longevity of restorations, why they fail, all of these things, artificial intelligence is going to be looking at what was used, what was the life expectancy of that crown or whatever it is. So the future of dentistry to me is extremely bright. I wish I was 18 again, as an old George Burns song, because I just want to see what's going to happen in the next 20 years and the next 25 years. So if you're just now getting out of dental school, you're just now starting to think about what do you want to do. Let me tell you, you're in a phenomenal profession. There are lots of dentists out there that would love to be mentors to you. Find someone who is doing things the way you want to do it. And that goes for dentists who've been in practice for 30 years. When you see somebody that's doing things the way that you'd like to do it, get to know them. And what you'll find is dentists are very sharing. They'll help you, and we are kind of on our own island, but there's so many dentists, and with social media and with all these ways to communicate now, find somebody who you'd like to be like, and go pick their brain and learn from them. That the old school of hard knocks. Yep. I've been there, done it. And so have all of you. But there are ways to speed that up a little bit. There are ways to not make the same mistakes over and over again. And that's another area that I think artificial intelligence is going to help us. So through printing, through artificial intelligence, through photogrammetry, through all kinds of new technology, dentistry is just going to keep getting better and better. So thanks again for voting for the Productive Dentist podcast as the #1 podcast in dentistry. Really am thankful for the opportunity to be able to share my experiences. And if you have questions, Bruce at productivedentist.com, real easy. Just send me a question. We'll do an entire, and I've been doing this for, 5 years. We'll do a podcast on your question. I won't throw your name up there, but I'll do a podcast on exactly what your question was and why would I do this and why would I do that? And that might help others. So again, thanks again. I look forward to our next podcast.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, make sure you subscribe. Pass it along to a friend. Give us a like on iTunes and Spotify, or drop me an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. Don't forget to check out other podcasts from the Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentistpodcast.com. Join me again next week for another episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.